The scream tore through the festive hum of Christmas Eve like a knife through silk. I hit the bottom of the stairs, my wrist snapping under my weight, pain exploding like a firework in my bones. My sister, Claire, stood at the top, her face pale, her hands trembling but not with remorse. The living room was a blur of twinkling lights and the clinking of wine glasses as my family gathered around the tree. I'd been halfway down the stairs, carrying a tray of gingerbread cookies, when Claire's voice hissed behind me. "You always have to be the perfect one, don't you, Emma?" Before I could turn, her hands shoved me hard, and gravity did the rest. Now, sprawled on the hardwood floor, I clutched my wrist, the pain a white-hot pulse. I looked up, expecting concern, but my parents' mom with her pearl necklace, Dad with his half-empty Scotch glass burst into laughter. "Oh, Emma, always so dramatic," Mom said, wiping a tear from her eye. Claire smirked, descending the stairs like a queen. "Not a culprit. Why did this hurt more than the broken bone? What does it mean when the people who should love you most laugh at your pain?" I lay there, the tray of cookies scattered like my dignity, wondering how a family could fracture so easily. The hospital was a sterile contrast to the warmth of our decorated home. The ER doctor, a kind man with tired eyes, confirmed the fracturia clean break in my radius. "You'll need a cast for 6 weeks," he said, his voice steady but curious. "How'd this happen?" I hesitated. "How do you explain that your sister pushed you down the stairs over a grudge you didn't fully understand? That your parents found it funny?" I tripped. I lied, avoiding his gaze. He didn't press, but his silence felt like a question. Back home, the Christmas Eve party continued as if nothing had happened. Claire was holding court by the fireplace, regaling our cousins with a story about her latest promotion. I stood in the doorway, my cast heavy, my heart heavier. Nobody asked how I was. Nobody apologized. The laughter from earlier echoed in my mind, a sound sharper than the crack of my wrist. What kind of family laughs when one of their own is broken? I retreated to my old bedroom, the one I'd shared with Claire growing up. The twin beds were still there, covered in matching quilts Mom had sewn when we were kids. I sat on mine, staring at the photos pinned to the corkboard. Claire and me at the beach. Claire and me at prom. Claire and me smiling like we were best friends. Where had that gone? When did her resentment start to simmer? And why did Mom and Dad enable it? Claire had always been the golden child, charismatic, ambitious, the one who could do no wrong. I was the quiet one, the good girl who got straight A's and never caused trouble. But good girls don't get pushed downstairs, do they? I traced the edge of my cast, wondering if I'd done something to deserve this. Had I been too perfect, as Claire accused? Too smug? Or was this about something deeper, something I'd missed? The door creaked open, and Mom poked her head in. "Emma, come join the party. Don't sulk up here." Her tone was light, but her eyes avoided mine. "It was just an accident. Honey, Claire didn't mean it." I stared at her, waiting for Maureen apology, an acknowledgement, but she just smiled and left. What does it mean when your mother dismisses your pain as sulking? I didn't sleep that night. The pain in my wrist was nothing compared to the ache in my chest. I kept replaying the moment Claire pushed me, the way her hands felt deliberate, the way her eyes held no regret. And my parents' laughter, how could they laugh? I needed answers, but I was too afraid to ask. What do you do when the people you love betray you in ways you can't explain? The next morning, Christmas Day, the house smelled of cinnamon and pine. Presents were piled under the tree, and Claire was already unwrapping hers, her laughter bright and unbothered. I sat on the couch, my cast a glaring reminder of last night. Dad handed me a gift scarf, beautifully wrapped, but his smile was forced. "You okay, kiddo?" he asked, but he didn't wait for an answer. I nodded anyway, swallowing the truth. Claire's gift to me was a journal, the kind with inspirational quotes on every page. Thought you could use it to write down your feelings. she said, her voice dripping with mock sweetness. I wanted to throw it at her. Instead, I thanked her, my voice flat. How do you thank someone who broke your wrist and got away with it? As the day wore on, I watched my family move through their rituals, eating, laughing, singing carols like nothing had happened. But something had shifted in me. The laughter, the dismissal, the shove. It wasn't just about one moment. It was about years of being overshadowed, of being the one who didn't matter. What happens when you realize your family doesn't see you? I decided then I couldn't stay silent. I needed to understand why Claire hated me enough to hurt me, why my parents laughed instead of helped. But confronting them felt impossible. What do you say to a family that doesn't seem to care? I didn't know yet, but I knew I had to try. The truth was out there, buried in our history, and I was going to find it even if it broke us all. The Christmas lights flickered as I sat at the dining table, my casted wrist resting awkwardly on the polished wood. The family was still in high spirits, passing plates of roasted turkey and mashed potatoes, their voices overlapping in a cacophony of holiday cheer. But I felt like a ghost, present but unseen. Claire's laughter rang out, sharp and confident, as she told a story about her new corner office. I watched her, searching for a crack in her perfect facade. What made her push me? Was it jealousy? Or something more? I tried to join the conversation, but my words felt heavy, like stones sinking in a pond. How's your wrist, Emma? Aunt Linda asked, her brow furrowed with concern, the first genuine concern I'd seen since the fall. I opened my mouth to answer, but Claire cut in. Oh, she's fine. Just clumsy. Right, Em. The table erupted in chuckles, and I felt my face burn. Why did they accept her version so easily? Why didn't anyone question it? After dinner, I slipped into the kitchen, needing a moment away from the noise. The sink was piled with dishes, and I started washing them, one-handed, the warm water soothing my frayed nerves. That's when Dad walked in, his face softened by the dim light. You don't have to do that, kiddo, he said, grabbing a dish towel. For a moment, I thought he might ask about the fall, about Claire, but he just dried a plate and said, You know, Claire's under a lot of pressure at work. Don't take it personally. Take what personally? The shove, the laughter. I wanted to scream, but I just nodded, my throat tight. What does it mean when your father defends the one who hurt you? I kept washing, the clink of dishes drowning out my thoughts. But the questions kept coming. Had Claire always resented me? Was it because I'd stayed home after college, helping Mom with her boutique while Claire chased her corporate dreams in the city? Or was it something older, something buried in our childhood? I thought back to when we were kids, sharing secrets under those quilted blankets. Claire was always the leader, the one who decided our games, our dreams. I followed, happy to be in her orbit. But there were moments, small, sharp ones, where her kindness turned cold. Like when I won the spelling bee in 5th grade, and she didn't speak to me for a week. Or when I got the lead in the school play, and she accidentally spilled juice on my costume. Were those accidents? Or warnings? I finished the dishes and went back to the living room, where Claire was opening another gift, a sleek leather planner from Mom. For your big plans, Mom said, her eyes shining with pride. I felt a pang. When was the last time Mom looked at me like that? I tried to remember, but the memory was fuzzy, like a photograph left in the sun. Later, as the family played charades, I excused myself and went to the attic. It was a dusty, cramped space filled with boxes of old photos and forgotten toys. I wasn't sure what I was looking for, but I needed something proof. Maybe that Claire's resentment had a root. I found a box labeled Emma and Claire, filled with old diaries and letters. My hands shook as I opened one of Claire's diaries from high school. The pages were filled with her loopy handwriting, but one entry stopped me cold. Emma always gets everything. Mom and Dad think she's perfect, but she's just a fake. I hate her sometimes. I sat back, my heart pounding. Hate. She'd written it so casually, like it was nothing. But it wasn't nothing, it was everything. How long had she felt this way? And why hadn't I seen it? I kept reading. Page after page of Claire's bitterness. Her jealousy over things I didn't even realize I had. Mom's praise. Dad's quiet approval. The way teachers always called me reliable. Was that why she pushed me? To finally take something from me. I heard footsteps on the attic stairs and quickly hid the diary. Claire appeared. Her arms crossed. "What are you doing up here?" she asked. Her voice sharp. I stood, my cast heavy at my side. "Just looking for answers," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. Her eyes narrowed. "You're not going to make a big deal out of this, are you? It was an accident." Was it? I wanted to ask, but the word stuck. Instead, I brushed past her, my heart racing. "What do you do when you find proof your sister hates you?" Back in my room, I lay awake, the diary's words burning in my mind. I couldn't confront her, yet not without understanding more. But I knew one thing. I wasn't going to let this go. Claire had crossed a line, and my parents had let her. I needed to know why, and I needed to make them see Minute, the perfect Emma, but the real one, the one who was hurting. How do you make a family face the truth they've ignored for years? The morning after Christmas. The house was quiet, the festive chaos replaced by a heavy stillness. I sat at the kitchen table, my cast itching under the fluorescent light, sipping coffee that tasted bitter despite the sugar. Claire was upstairs, probably packing to head back to her city life, while Mom and Dad were out for their post-holiday walk. I had the diary hidden under my sweater, its weight a secret I wasn't ready to share. What do you do with proof that your sister's love was a lie? I needed to talk to someone. Anyone. Who might see my side. I called my cousin Sarah, the only one who'd seemed uneasy at the Christmas Eve laughter. She answered on the second ring, her voice warm but cautious. "Emma, how's your wrist?" she asked. I told her the truth, not just about the fall, but about Claire's shove, the diary, the laughter. Sarah listened, her silence heavy. "That's awful," she finally said. "Have you talked to your parents?" I hadn't. "How do you tell your parents their favorite daughter might hate you?" Sarah suggested I confront Claire first. Privately. Get her side. She said. Maybe there's more to it. More to it. Like what a reason that justified pushing me down the stairs. But Sarah's words stuck. Maybe Claire had a story I didn't know. Maybe understanding her would help me understand Mom and Dad's laughter. But how do you confront someone who's spent years hiding their truth? I found Claire in the garage, loading her suitcase into her car. Her blonde hair was pulled back, her movements brisk, like she couldn't wait to leave. "Claire," I said, my voice shaking. She turned, her eyes narrowing. "What?" I took a breath, clutching the diary under my sweater. "Why did you push me?" Her face froze, but only for a second. "I didn't push you, Emma. You tripped. Stop making drama." Her denial hit like a slap. Was she lying? Or did she believe it? I pressed on. "I found your diary. You wrote that you hate me." Her eyes widened, then darkened. "You went through my stuff." She snapped, stepping closer. "That's low, even for you." I stood my ground, my cast a reminder of her actions. "You pushed me, Claire." And Mom and Dad laughed. "I need to know why." She laughed. A cold, brittle sound. "You're pathetic. Digging up old diaries to play victim. Grow up." She turned back to her car, dismissing me. "What do you do when your sister won't even admit the truth?" I went back inside, my chest tight with anger and hurt. The diary was burning a hole in my conscience, but I couldn't let it go. I needed Mom and Dad to see it, to understand. But when they returned from their walk, rosy-cheeked and smiling, I lost my nerve. How do you tell your parents their daughter hates their other daughter? Instead, I asked Mom about Claire's childhood, hoping for clues. Was she ever jealous of me? I asked, my voice small. Mom frowned. stirring her tea. Jealous. Oh, honey, Claire's always been so independent. You were the sensitive one, always needing attention. Her words stung. Needing attention. Was that how they saw me? I pressed further, mentioning the diary. But Mom waved it off. Teenagers write dramatic things. Don't take it to heart. But it was in my heart. Sharp and heavy. Why wouldn't she listen? That night, I read more of Claire's diary. Each entry a dagger. She wrote about Mom praising my art projects. Dad calling me his little helper. She saw every compliment I got as a theft from her. But I wasn't stealing, I was just being me. Why did that make her hate me? I closed the diary, tears blurring my vision. I needed to confront Mom and Dad. But I was terrified. What if they laughed again? The next day, I found Dad in his study, surrounded by old law books. I sat across from him, my cast heavy on the desk. Dad, I need to talk about Christmas Eve. His face tightened, but he nodded. I told him about the shove, the diary, the laughter. He listened, his eyes distant. Emma, families fight. It doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean anything. My wrist was broken. My trust shattered. How could he say that? I left the study, my resolve hardening. I couldn't keep begging for them to see me. I needed a plan not just to confront Claire, but to make them all face the truth. What do you do when your family refuses to see your pain? I didn't know yet, but I was done being invisible. I'd make them hear me, even if it meant tearing our perfect Christmas facade apart. The house felt smaller as the days after Christmas dragged on, each room heavy with unspoken truths. I carried Claire's diary like a grenade, knowing it could explode our family if I used it. But I needed answers, and I was tired of being dismissed. Why did my pain seem invisible to the people who raised me? I decided to try Mom again, this time with more force. I found her in the laundry room, folding towels with the precision of a surgeon. Mom, we need to talk about Claire, I said, my voice firm despite the tremor in my chest. She sighed, not looking up. Emma, let it go. It was an accident. I pulled the diary from under my sweater and set it on the dryer. Its worn cover a silent accusation. She wrote that she hates me. She pushed me. Mom, it wasn't an accident. Mom's hands froze, her eyes flicking to the diary. You're blowing this out of proportion, she said, but her voice wavered. I opened the diary to the page I'd marked, reading aloud. Emma gets everything, and I'm sick of it. I hate her. Mom's face paled, but she shook her head. She was young. Emma. She didn't mean it. Didn't mean it. The words were written years ago, but the shove was days ago. Why couldn't Mom see the connection? I left the laundry room, my heart pounding. Mom's denial felt like another betrayal, piling onto the laughter from Christmas Eve. I needed someone outside the family, someone who could help me make sense of this. I called my old high school counselor, Mrs. Grayson, who'd always had a knack for seeing through family facades. She agreed to meet me at a coffee shop in town. Mrs. Grayson was older now, her hair grayer, but her eyes were as sharp as ever. I told her everything, the shove, the laughter, the diary. She listened, her face calm but serious. Emma, families often hide their cracks under tradition, she said. Your sister's jealousy, your parents' dismissal, it's not about you. It's about their own fears and failures. Fears and failures. What did that mean? I asked her to explain, and she leaned forward. Claire might feel she's never enough. Your parents might be avoiding guilt by laughing it off. But you need to decide what you want from this, truth or peace. Truth or peace. I wanted both, but they felt impossible together. Mrs. Grayson suggested I write a letter to Claire, not to send, but to clarify my own feelings. Put it all on paper, she said, then decide what to do. I thanked her, my mind spinning. What would I even say to Claire? Back home, I sat at my desk, the diary open beside a blank notebook. I started writing, the words pouring out like a flood. Claire, I don't know why you hate me, but I know you pushed me. I know you meant it. And I know Mom and Dad don't want to see it. But I see you, and I'm not going to let this go. The letter grew, page after page of hurt and questions. Why did you stop loving me? When did I become your enemy? Writing it felt like lancing a wound, painful, but freeing. I didn't send the letter, but it gave me clarity. I couldn't keep tiptoeing around the truth. I needed to confront the whole family. Not just Claire. But how? A big scene would only make them defensive. I needed something undeniable. Something that forced them to listen. The diary was a start. But it wasn't enough. What could I do to make them see me? That night, I overheard Mom and Dad in the living room. Their voices low. She's making too much of this. Mom said. Claire didn't mean to hurt her. Dad sighed. Emma's always been sensitive. She'll get over it. Get over it. My wrist was broken. My trust shattered. And they thought I'd just move on. I stood in the hallway. My fists clenched. How do you make a family face a truth they're determined to ignore? I went back to my room, the letter and diary beside me. I realized then that confronting them wasn't just about Claire's shove, it was about years of being unseen. Of being the sensitive one who didn't matter. I needed to show them who I was. Not just who they wanted me to be. But how do you break through decades of denial? I didn't have the answer yet. But I knew I couldn't stay silent anymore. The truth was my only weapon. And I was ready to use it. The new year was approaching. But the holiday glow had faded, replaced by a cold tension that clung to the house. My cast was a constant reminder of Claire's shove. But the real weight was the Silence Me family's refusal to acknowledge what happened. I'd written the letter to Claire. And though I hadn't shared it, it had lit a fire in me. I couldn't keep being the invisible daughter. But how do you make a family hear a truth they've spent years ignoring? I decided to start with Dad. He was always the softer one. The one who might crack if I pushed hard enough. I found him in the backyard, pruning the rose bushes despite the winter chill. Dad, can we talk? I asked, my voice steady. He nodded, his pruning shears pausing. I took a breath and laid it out the shove. The diary, the laughter, the letter I'd written. I need you to see me, I said. I'm not making this up. Claire hurt me, and you and Mom laughed. Dad's face tightened, his eyes on the roses. Emma, you know Claire. She's impulsive, but she loves you. Loves me. I wanted to shake him. Instead, I handed him the diary, open to the page about her hatred. He read it, his jaw clenching, but he handed it back without a word. This was years ago, he said finally. She's grown up. Grown up. She'd pushed me down the stairs days ago. Why couldn't he see it? I left the backyard, my resolve wavering but not broken. Dad's denial was a wall, but I'd chip away at it. Next, I tried Mom again, this time with the letter. I found her in the living room, rearranging Christmas ornaments. Mom, read this, I said, handing her the notebook. She frowned but took it, her eyes scanning the pages. When she finished, she looked up, her face a mix of guilt and defensiveness. Emma, this is intense. Why can't you let this go? Claire's sorry, even if she doesn't say it. Sorry. Claire hadn't said a word of apology. I felt my anger flare. Mom, she pushed me. You laughed. How am I supposed to let that go? Her eyes filled with tears. But she turned away, fussing with a garland. We're a family. Emma. Families have fights. You're making it bigger than it is. Bigger than it is. My wrist was broken. My trust shattered. How could she say that? I realized then that confronting them one-on-one wasn't enough. They'd keep deflecting, protecting the image of our perfect family. I needed something bigger, something they couldn't ignore. That night, I lay awake, plotting. A family meeting. Maybe. With Sarah there for support. But what would I say? How do you make a family face a truth they're desperate to bury? The next day, I called Sarah and asked her to come over. She arrived with a quiet strength, her presence a lifeline. We sat in the dining room, and I told her my plan, a family meeting, with the diary and letter as evidence. I want them to hear me, I said. Not just Claire, but Mom and Dad too. Sarah nodded. It's risky, but it's honest. I'll back you up. Her support felt like armor. But was I ready to face them all at once? I invited Mom, Dad, and Claire to the living room that evening, saying we needed to talk about family stuff. Claire rolled her eyes, but showed up, her arms crossed. Mom and Dad sat on the couch, their faces wary. I stood, my cast heavy, my letter and diary in hand. I need to say something, I began, my voice shaking but clear. On Christmas Eve, Claire pushed me down the stairs. My wrist is broken, and you all laughed. I need to know why. Claire scoffed. This again. You're obsessed. Emma. Mom shifted uncomfortably, and Dad stared at the floor. I held up the diary. Claire, you wrote that you hate me. You felt this way for years, and you acted on it. I read the passage aloud, my voice steady despite the tears in my eyes. Then I read parts of my letter, laying bare my hurt. The room was silent, the air thick with tension. What happens when you force a family to face their cracks? Claire stood, her face red. You're pathetic, Emma. Digging up old diaries, writing sob stories. Get over yourself. But her voice cracked, and I saw something new in her eyes, fear. Mom started to speak, but Sarah cut in. Let her finish. I did, pouring out years of feeling unseen, of being the sensitive one who didn't matter. When I stopped, the silence was deafening. Had I finally broken through? Or had I just broken us? The living room felt like a courtroom, the Christmas lights casting a mocking glow over our fractured family. I stood, my cast a silent witness, the diary and letter trembling in my hands. Claire's outburst hung in the air, her accusation that I was pathetic, stinging, but not surprising. Mom's eyes were wet. Dad's face was stone, and Sarah sat beside me, her presence a quiet anchor. Had I gone too far, or not far enough? What do you do when the truth you've laid bare is met with silence? Mom spoke first, her voice small. Emma, we didn't mean to laugh. It was a shock. We thought you were okay. Okay. My wrist was broken, my heart in pieces. I wanted to scream, but I kept my voice steady. You laughed while I was in pain. You didn't even ask if I was hurt. Why? Dad shifted, his hands clasped tightly. We didn't think it was serious. Claire said it was an accident. Claire's eyes flashed, but she said nothing. Why was she so quiet now? I turned to her. Claire, tell them. Tell them you pushed me. She crossed her arms, her jaw tight. I didn't push you, Emma. You're making this up to get attention. Her lie was a punch to the gut, but I saw the flicker in her eyes, guilt. Maybe. Or fear. Sarah leaned forward. Claire, I saw your face that night. You weren't surprised when Emma fell. Claire's mouth opened, then closed. For the first time, she looked cornered. Mom's voice broke the tension. Girls, stop. This is tearing us apart. Tearing us apart. We were already torn. Had been for years. I set the diary on the coffee table, its pages a silent challenge. Read it, I said. All of you. See what Claire wrote about me. See how she's felt for years. Dad picked it up, his hands shaking, and started reading. Mom leaned over, her face crumpling as she saw the words. Claire stood, her voice sharp. That's private. You had no right. No right. I shot back. You pushed me. Claire, you broke my wrist. I have every right. The room fell silent again. The truth a weight none of us could lift. Dad closed the diary, his voice low. Claire, is this true? Did you push her? Claire's face twisted, and for a moment, I thought she'd confess. But she shook her head. No. She's lying. Why was she clinging to the lie? What was she so afraid of? Sarah spoke up, her voice calm but firm. I think you all need to take this seriously. Emma's hurt, and not just her wrist. You can't keep pretending this didn't happen. Mom started crying, and Dad reached for her hand. I felt a pain guilt. Maybe. For breaking their illusion of a happy family. But I couldn't stop now. I need you to see me, I said, my voice breaking. I'm not invisible. I'm not just the sensitive one. I'm your daughter, and I'm hurting. Dad looked at me. Really looked. For the first time in days. Emma. We didn't know it was this bad. Didn't know? How could they not know? But his eyes held something near regret. Maybe. Mom was still crying. But she nodded. We should have checked on you. We should have done better. It wasn't an apology. Not fully. But it was a start. What does it mean when your parents finally see your pain? But only after you force them to. Claire stood abruptly, grabbing her coat. I'm done with this, she said, her voice shaking. You want to play victim? Emma. Fine. I'm leaving. She stormed out, the front door slamming behind her. I felt a strange mix of relief and loss. She was gone, but the truth was still here, raw and exposed. Mom reached for me, but I stepped back. I need time, I said, my voice soft but firm. How do you rebuild trust when it's been shattered? That night, I sat with Sarah, debriefing. You did the right thing, she said. They needed to hear it. But did they? Claire was gone. Mom was crying. Dad was silent. Had I won? Or lost? I didn't know. But I felt lighter. Like I'd finally claimed my voice. The diary sat on my desk. Its secrets no longer just mine. What happens when you force a family to face their truth? I was about to find out. Claire's car was gone by morning. The driveway empty like the hole she'd left in our family. The house was quiet. The Christmas decorations still up, but lifeless. Like props in a play that had ended badly. I sat in my room, my cast itching, the diary and letter beside me. Last night's confrontation had cracked something open, but it didn't feel like healing, not yet. What do you do when the truth you fought for leaves you lonelier than before? Mom knocked on my door, her eyes red from crying. Emma, can we talk? She asked, her voice soft. I nodded, bracing myself. She sat on my bed, twisting her hands. I read more of Claire's diary last night. She said. I didn't realize how much she was struggling. Struggling. Claire was the golden child, the one who had everything. But Mom's words made me pause. Was Claire's resentment a kind of pain I hadn't seen? She never told us. Mom continued. And we didn't see you. Either. I'm sorry. Sorry. The word hung between us. Fragile but real. I wanted to believe it. But years of being overlooked made me wary. Why did you laugh? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Mom's face crumpled. It was a mistake. We were caught off guard. And we didn't know what to do. Didn't know what to do. I wanted to shake her. But her tears stopped me. How do you forgive a mother who failed you, but is trying to make it right? Dad joined us, his face heavy with guilt. We messed up, Emma, he said. We thought Claire was just being Claire impulsive, not malicious. But we should have checked on you. We should have listened. Their apologies were a start, but they didn't erase the laughter, the dismissal, the years of feeling invisible. I nodded, not trusting my voice. What does it mean when your parents apologize, but the hurt still lingers? I asked about Claire, about why she'd felt so threatened by me. Mom hesitated, then spoke. She always felt like she had to compete with you. You were so good, Emma. We didn't realize how much pressure that put on her. Pressure. I'd never tried to outshine Claire, I'd just been myself. But maybe that was enough to make her feel less. Was I partly to blame for her resentment? The thought twisted in my gut. Later, I called Sarah, needing her clarity. You're not responsible for Claire's feelings, she said firmly. She made a choice to hurt you. Your parents made a choice to ignore it. You're allowed to be angry. Angry, yes, but also tired. I didn't want to carry this hurt forever. What do you do when you want to forgive, but don't know how? I decided to write Claire another letter. This one to send. I poured out everything, me pain, my confusion, my hope that we could understand each other. I don't know why you hate me, I wrote, but I don't want to hate you back. Can we talk? I mailed it, my heart pounding. Would she read it? Would she care? I didn't know, but it felt like a step towards something, maybe not peace, but truth. Days passed with no word from Claire. Mom and Dad were trying small gestures, like asking about my wrist, listening when I spoke. But the house still felt fragile, like a vase glued back together. I started journaling, not just about Claire, but about Muho. I was beyond the good girl, beyond the sister who was pushed. I wrote about my dreams, my fears, my hope for a family that saw me. Writing felt like reclaiming myself. What does it mean to find your voice when your family tried to silence it? One evening, Mom suggested we go to family therapy. We need help, she said, her voice raw. All of us. I agreed, though I wasn't sure it would fix us. Claire hadn't responded to my letter, but I held on to a sliver of hope. Maybe she'd come around. Maybe we could rebuild. Or maybe I'd have to let her go. How do you hold on to a family that's breaking without losing yourself? The cast came off in mid-January. My wrist pale and stiff, but healing. The physical pain was fading, but the emotional scars were still raw. Claire hadn't responded to my letter, her silence louder than her shove. Mom and Dad were trying awkwardly, imperfectly to rebuild our connection, but the house still felt like a minefield. What do you do when your family is trying to heal, but the one who hurt you most is gone? We started family therapy. Just Mom, Dad, and me. The therapist, Dr. Ellis, was a calm woman with a knack for asking hard questions. What do you want from this, Emma? She asked in our first session. I thought about it, my newly freed wrist twirling a pen. I want to be seen, I said. I want to know why Claire hates me, and why my parents didn't care. Mom flinched, but Dr. Ellis nodded. That's a start. Let's unpack that. Therapy was slow, painful work. Mom admitted she'd favored Claire because she seemed stronger, while I was easier to overlook. Dad confessed he'd laughed on Christmas Eve because he didn't know how to handle conflict. Their honesty hurt, but it was a relief to hear. They were human, flawed, and trying to change. But what about Claire? Her absence was a gaping hole in our sessions. How do you heal a family when one piece is missing? One day, a letter arrived from Claire. My hands shook as I opened it, expecting anger or denial. Instead, it was short, almost cold. I'm sorry for pushing you. I didn't mean to hurt you that bad. I need space. Space. She'd had space for weeks. But the apology, however small, was something. I showed it to Dr. Ellis, who asked, "What do you want to do with this?" I didn't know. Part of me wanted to reach out. Part of me wanted to let her go. What do you do when your sister apologizes, but it doesn't feel like enough? I wrote back, keeping it simple. Thank you for apologizing. I want to understand you. Can we meet? I mailed it, not expecting a reply. But a week later, Claire called. Her voice was guarded, but she agreed to meet at a neutral Placia park near her apartment in the city. I told Mom and Dad, who looked hopeful but nervous. Be careful, Mom said, her hand on mine. Careful. I'd been careful my whole life, and it hadn't protected me. The park was quiet, the winter air crisp. Claire was waiting on a bench, her face pale, her hands stuffed in her pockets. Hey, she said, her voice flat. I sat beside her, my heart racing. Why did you push me? I asked. No preamble. She looked away, her jaw tight. I don't know, she said finally. I was angry. You're always so perfect. It's exhausting. Perfect. I laughed. A bitter sound. I'm not perfect, Claire. I'm just me. We talked for hours, peeling back layers of resentment. She admitted she'd felt overshadowed by my goodness, by the way Mom and Dad seemed to rely on me. I told her how invisible I'd felt, how her shove and their laughter had broken something in me. She cried, and so did I. It wasn't forgiveness. Not yet, but it was a start. What does it mean to reconnect with someone who hurt you? Back home, I told Mom and Dad about the meeting. They listened, really listened, for the first time in years. We were still in therapy, still learning to see each other. Claire joined us for one session, her presence awkward but hopeful. We didn't fix everything, some cracks might never heal, but we were trying. I was learning to stand up for myself, to demand to be seen. And I was learning that family isn't just about love, it's about accountability, too. As spring came, I started painting again, something I'd stopped after college. Each brushstroke felt like a declaration. I am here. I am enough. Claire and I were still tentative, but we texted sometimes. Small steps towards something new. Mom and Dad were learning to listen, to apologize, to change. What do you do when your family starts to heal? You keep going. One painful, beautiful step at a time.